Welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast, a collection of inspiring conversations with the most interesting female entrepreneurs and small business owners. I'm your host, Lindsay White, and together with my incredible guests, we'll explore the struggles of being a female entrepreneur, the most important lessons, and the future of women leaders in business. And I am truly passionate about helping female entrepreneurs become a poised and powerful leader with their team and in their business. And that's why I've created my VIP leadership coaching program. This 3-month program is specifically designed to help high-performing women uncover their authentic leadership brand and style so they can lead more effectively in every aspect of their life and their business. And if you're ready to transform your leadership, connect with me today at highvoltageleadership.ca. My guest on this week's episode is my friend Kristy Garnet. And Kristy's passion for holistic healing is really fueled by her own personal health journey. When Kristy was in her early 20s, she had a pretty serious health scare that led her to explore both Western and Eastern medicines. And now she's found a really incredible way to combine the best of both worlds as a holistic life empowerment mentor and clinical herbalist. With the creation of her practice, Almondine Wellness, she now works with busy, driven women to help them combine luxury into their own custom healing journey. And I've always thought Kristy's luxury approach to holistic healing was really interesting and empowering, and that the custom products that she sells on her website are some of my personal favorites. We also have a lot of fun connecting every time we get to chat, so I know you're going to love today's conversation. All right, it's the Female Founder Friday podcast, and my friend Kristy is here. And Kristy does something that I think is super cool. And I'm really looking forward to her telling us, first of all, about her journey to being a female founder, and now what she does, because I think it's super cool. So Kristy, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. We always have great conversations, and it's nice to do it formally on your podcast.
Yeah, we sure do. And we met, it was pretty early in my entrepreneurial journey, and we were at an event together and we had a bit of a bonding moment. Like, that's actually how we met. There was a bit of confrontation in this networking event, and Kristy looked over at me and her eyes got big, and I looked back and I was like, oh my God. And that was it. That was the start of a beautiful friendship right there.
Absolutely. And, when we're talking about journeys and how we all get started, that's one of the ways to get started, is to put yourself out there and go to these networking events and see what sticks and who you really enjoy and collaborate with and how you can move forward together. But it's hard at first.
It is hard, but I'm kind of like a tick. I'm not easy to get rid of. So here we are today talking about your journey. Tell us, first of all, what you do and how you got here. What is the deal?
Sure. So like you mentioned, I'm a little bit unusual. I am a holistic living empowerment mentor and a clinical herbalist. And what that means is I work with successful professionals who want to heal holistically using natural remedies and mindset awareness. And that is interesting and unusual because whenever we're looking at the holistic community, there's a piece that's always missing, and that piece is luxury. So I make sure that whatever I work with clients, there is luxury interwoven in the holistic healing journey.
I love that. I love that word. That's such a big, juicy, beautiful word. But I remember you talking about that. So often when people think about healing naturally, they think it's going to suck. They think it's going to be hard. It's going to taste bad. It's going to be painful. Right.
Well, right. And that's what natural, the natural approach has really banked on, is that it's about deprivation and sacrifice and, depriving yourself. That's everything. Detoxes and no pain, no gain mentality. And that is something that none of us, we're all over that. Most of us anyway. And those that aren't over it want to be over it. It is my truest belief that when you're living that life and you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing, that there will be a brick wall that you can't run through, like the Kool-Aid man, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really part of how I got here in my own journey. So I know that there will be a wall that you won't be able to scale or break through or dig underneath. You'll have to address your imbalances one way or another.
Right. Right. And your journey to this place has been very personal. It started as a very personal experience. Yes.
It did. So my journey has been long.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I had some mini strokes and some TIAs. And what happened was I was in graduate school. I was a biology student in graduate school. And so I was very, very Western medicine focused. And I went into a research hospital. I was a guinea pig in some ways, and I had great care. But what ended up happening is one of the neurologists, because I could speak some of the biology, one of the neurologists was very upfront with me, and he said, "We don't know why this is happening. You're just going to have to manage your stress and not take birth control for the rest of your life." And that was it. And I realized that I needed more. I needed more attention. I needed more information. I needed more understanding. And it took a long time for me to recognize that, that answer wasn't sufficient for me. It just wasn't. And so then I went on this exploration of, what's energy healing, what's acupuncture, how does, cupping work? Is there anything to massage therapy? Because I just wasn't down that road before. And so I was working corporate America, then I worked in corporate Canada, and all that time I was researching, and I became I became my own solution. And then I recognized that I wanted to offer what I knew to other people. And so that's the journey. And so I've been working as a holistic empowerment mentor and a clinical herbalist for the last 6.5 years. And have global clients.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because it is just, first of all, your approach to it and really bringing the luxury is beautiful, makes people feel great about how they're healing, but also that what you do is such a cool intersection of Western and Eastern science and practice. Like, it really is a beautiful combination. That's what's always been enchanting for me anyways, is that it's just this really neat place in the middle.
Yes. Well, for always, that is my goal, to always be somebody who can be a bridge to the different modalities, Eastern and Western. And the truth of the matter is, I come from a corporate background. I always loved nature. Let's be honest. And in college, I was the one wearing bells, but
love it.
I was in the corporate world. I understand that mentality. I understand that drive. And I also understand how intimidating it can be to want to do something natural, but be uncomfortable going into the supplement area, feeling like something is not right. How am I wasting my money? Do I take this supplement with that supplement? Is it even doing anything? How do I know if it's doing something? And so that piece of luxury is what I want everyone, no matter where you are in your career, your life, your span, to know that that is part of living. And to deny that is denying a whole aspect of life that we don't need to deny.
You don't have to live in this space of lack or longing or deprivation. You can really enjoy the process. It can be beautiful. It can be luxurious. It can be comfortable, right? I really, really love that. That's so beautiful.
And you know what? That's the key. I really specialize in making sure that everything is customized to the client. And the truth is, the only way to have luxury is to actually know what you and be aware of who you are and what you like, and
Yeah.
also have somebody be willing to accommodate that. Because one of the best examples I give is, if you have to take something that you don't like that rebalances your health and it smells terrible and it tastes terrible, put it in a beautiful teacup, you know.
Yeah.
You know, that can change everything, you know. And luxury for one person, like for, you know, for me, I am not a journaler. If someone told me that, you know, to take 25 minutes and journal, that would not be a luxury for me.
No.
But if someone said, go snuggle up in a beautiful, you know, blanket and stare outside this window and watch the trees, that would be up my alley. So it's really different for every person.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, isn't it? Right. So for some people, luxury is having a hot bubble bath. I'm not a bath girl. I just want to sit snuggled up on a couch with a good book. Thanks. Right. Like it really is different things to different people.
And you know, somebody who loves that bubble bath, that tells me from an Eastern standpoint that they are probably emotional. Like, you know, they can be an emotional person, and water brings out more emotions. But that's the best part of knowing the Eastern and the Western, is that you can actually adapt your luxury to your dosha and to your personality type. So
I love it. Okay. So tell me, you've been in business now, you said, for about 6.5 years, because this show is all about the female founders. So tell us, where have you made a mistake or messed it up? And what have you learned as a female founder from that event?
So to be really clear, yes, I have been doing this work for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
But I have been an entrepreneur before that.
Right.
Because what I did was I kind of merged from corporate Canada, and then I took like this half stance, right? So the side hustle, as people like to call it.
Totally.
And this is one of those situations where one of the things that I messed up is I really thought that I wasn't legitimate when I was having my, you know, other revenue stream.
Yeah.
There was this feeling that, oh, until I am full-time helping people in this way as a herbalist, until I can, you know, openly say I've made it to 6 figures, I'm not successful. And so I kept and you know, we fall into this trap, right, where you look at the goal and you don't see where you came from.
Totally.
You know, and this is one of those things where they call it imposter syndrome, or, you know, that is one of the biggest things that I messed up, was sitting there saying, oh, I'm not legitimate. Yeah. When I was.
Totally. I mean, imposter syndrome, in my mind as a coach, being one piece of it, but it's our saboteur or our inner critic that tells us that we don't know enough. We don't have enough education, certifications. We aren't legitimate because we don't do it full time, because we don't make, like, all of that to tell us that somehow we're not enough. Right. And it's total garbage. It's bullshit. It's absolutely untrue. It is one of the biggest lies. Women buy into that all the time. It's absolutely ridiculous that we buy into that like nobody's business, that somehow, you know, we aren't a real business. We're not a real CEO until that some arbitrary level or accomplishment or thing, right? It's just not true.
And, you know, this is one of the things that I also, you know, help mentor my clients on, who are in the health coaching industry or the health business. This idea that, you know, everything has to be, you know, self-sacrificed.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. You're trying to build a business, and yet you're ashamed of your growth. And then at the same time, you're not convinced that you're growing. So it's this weird loop that happens when you're on this road of entrepreneurship. It just is, it's never enough, but it's always too much. It's
Yes. It's a total paradox, isn't it?
It is.
It's a total paradox.
You kind of brought it up earlier about how when we met, I think the second thing that I really had a few failings on is searching for partners. I always wanted someone to share it with, because because it's scary to do it on your own, and to really do it as a solopreneur on your own is quite a feat.
Intimidating. Yeah.
And so I was always looking for partnerships and validation, and maybe, and you realize that everyone has their own skill sets and their own agendas. And sometimes you just gotta, hoe the row yourself.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think just to say, yes, and I think there's also some intuition in that, right? So part of that is absolutely our saboteur saying, I don't have enough to do this by myself. This is way too hard. I can't figure this out. But the other part is going with your gut on what you know is right. And one tends to cancel the other out. So yes, I think there's a space to form great partnerships if you serve the same client, doing that consciously and intentionally, but not from a place of lack. That's totally different, right? So I really appreciate the subtlety in that comment, Kristy. That actually, I think, is really important.
Thank you. I found that you have to be really aware of what you want when you walk into a potential partnership and a potential conversation about partnerships. Because, I found myself a few times being the one doing all the work and then the other person getting the benefits. And, that stings a little bit, but I also learned a lot. And, let's be honest, we have trial and errors, and that's what helps us continue to go.
No doubt. Well, and that's part of why I asked that question of every one of my guests. Where have you messed it up and what have you learned? Most importantly, because you're right. As entrepreneurs, we're always going to make mistakes. The question is, are you going to think about it in a negative way, or are you going to be positive and think about what's the gift? What did I learn? How can I grow? How can I do this better next time? So that's, and I think every single entrepreneur has something to offer. These two things that you've mentioned have been really excellent learning opportunities, right?
Yes. And you know what? When there's a financial piece to it, I always think, well, that cost me X, Y, or Z to learn that. And at least it cost me $20,000. It only cost me $3,000.
Yeah. And some time and some emotional energy. And, hopefully the learning pays off in the longer term. Maybe you get $6,000 back in terms of the learning, but yes, sometimes they're expensive lessons, aren't they?
Sometimes. And, I always say, well, I bought myself out of, that bought me out of a bad situation. Right? That's how I always think of. I bought myself into a better situation.
I like it. Actually, I think that's a wonderful way to view that. I think that is really a positive way to look at it. That it was money well spent because I got to extricate myself from something that was going sideways.
Correct.
Right? That's correct. Beautiful, Kristy. I love that a lot. So just to put a fine note on this, what would you say to the female entrepreneurs that listen to the show? What would your piece of advice be to them?
I would say that you really need to find someone who's going to invest in your success and not be afraid of your failure.
Yeah, I love that.
That means, find a coach, find a mentor, find, a friend, somebody that will, this is an interesting road, right? Entrepreneurship and being a female entrepreneur is even doubly hard because of the pressures that we put on ourselves as women. And so, always going to your family and friends for kind of advice or support or any kind of understanding might not be the best approach. So really find someone who's invested in your success, and that's your sounding board, you know?
I love that. And I'll do a little bit of a plug because that's exactly who I work with, is female entrepreneurs and small business owners. And you're absolutely right. Our friends and family are wonderful, but finding the right coach, mentor, finding the right community, right? Where you can feel safe, you can feel confident and comfortable. You can talk about the hard things in your business and in your personal life, because let's be honest, the two things are intimately connected, is absolutely key, not only to building a really successful business, but also to build a really beautiful, fulfilling life, because that business has got to fit with who you are and how you wish to be in this world. And if you don't have the right people to help you do that, you will wander and you will have more failures. You will fail again and again. When you have the right coach, when you have the right community, they'll help you fail, but fail in a way that you learn and grow from. And I think that's what's really important. And I've personally and professionally, right? So beautifully said, Kristy. I really love that. So I want to ask you, what is important in terms of leadership and how you see yourself as a leader? What is important to you in that leadership space?
So I will always lead with compassion and honesty. And that is what I promise all of my clients. There are not a ton of things that you can control in life. And I am happy to lead people in honest conversation and compassion and to share knowledge and customization when it comes to living and healing holistically. But there is nothing worse than feeling like the person that you choose to lead, which ultimately is yourself. There's nothing worse than feeling like they are going to be the harshest to you. So when you're leading yourself or you're leading others, compassion is key, especially when it's time to go to the honest and hard discussions. And that is something that has to happen when you're in an entrepreneurship. There are hard discussions that the wins are fantastic and the lows can be really hard. And to have that resilience to get back up on the horse, you need that compassion.
I love that. I love the compassion and honesty. And you're right. I think that those are key aspects of being a great leader. You can do a whole lot of other things really well, but if you don't have those two things, you're not going to be particularly effective in truly leading. But I also love what you said, because it's a belief that I have, is that leadership starts from within. You lead yourself first. Right? You have to know what you value and how that impacts the behavior and the way you show up. You need to have purpose. Like, why are you here? What are you even doing here? And if you don't know those things, it's really hard to be a great leader because you don't know yourself. Right. And that's so key what you said there.
And you nailed it about leading yourself. But I also ask people, are you leading from the front, the middle, or behind?
Yeah.
And a great leader knows when to lead in each of those scenarios and how you lead from the middle, how you lead from behind. What does it take? I mean, we always think that that's the fallacy. And I think that's what we've been taught from this patriarchal place, is that you have to lead at the front all the time.
And you have to have all the answers, and you have to be the smartest person in the room. And generally you have to be the loudest, right? You have to be in control.
Yeah.
The truth is, that is a small part of being a great leader.
And that is what I think everybody is needing to understand, is that leadership is personal to you. And how you become a great leader is really dependent on how you lead your own life.
Yeah. You know what? It is fundamentally the truth. It is fundamentally the truth. And you look at anyone who is a high quality leader. First of all, they are always conscious of how they're showing up. Mm-hmm. In every situation, in every place that they belong, right? I think, they're also, to your point, they're compassionate. They truly want and long to understand other people and connect with them in a way that is meaningful, and that you have to be compassionate. I think they're also compassionate with themselves. Would you agree with that?
Well, I hope they would be. I mean, what I've noticed is that some people that are so compassionate and kind and honest with other people sometimes go home and are the hardest critics of themselves.
Yeah.
So how do you walk in the world when nobody's watching, because the ones that are great leaders and showing that outside, but are hiding the critic inside, are the ones that I find have the health issues and the imbalances.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Coming at it from the perspective of helping leaders understand their own inner critic and how to manage that. I don't think we ever get rid of it. I think we can turn down the volume on it. We can learn how to manage that inner critic voice, and we can learn a way to operate from a more sage or positive perspective. But you're right. I think a lot of times those great leaders are pretty hard on themselves. And the truth is, I'm not sure they can really own their whole greatness until they show themselves compassion. And certainly part of that's being honest with yourself, being honest with the people around you, and doing that in a really powerful way. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Kristy, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for your time today. If someone's listening, where do they find you? Where can they locate you?
So I have a website, almondinewellness.com. I'm also on Instagram, Almondine Wellness, and I'm on Facebook, and it's just Kristy Garnet, owner of Almondine Wellness. So I'm pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere. I love it. And I can honestly say, Kristy has her own custom line of wellness products. And I have actually used some of them. In fact, I need to place an order. And she produces, again, custom blends, all natural, super beautiful. And you need to check out her store because she has some amazing, amazing things to share with you. So thanks again, Kristy. I really appreciate you being here. I look forward to talking with you again pretty soon, I think.
Oh, me too. It's honestly my pleasure. I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristy. To everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for being a part of the Female Founder Friday podcast. I really love Kristy's approach to leadership and how she focuses on leading her clients with passion and with honesty. And you can find out more about Kristy and the cool things that she does on her website, which is almondinewellness.com. And of course, you can find me on Instagram at High Volt Leadership. The Female Founder Friday podcast has a goal to impact 1,000 listeners, and it would really mean the world to me if you left this episode a 5-star review and also shared it with your friends. Let's engage 1,000 female entrepreneurs and really amplify the message. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show, and don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca.